Hello everyone, my name is Siddharth Sangwan and I'm a member of Pentesting Club. In this video, we will start with Burp Suite Professional, how you can configure it with the Firefox and how you can use the built-in Chromium browser for intercepting the traffic. So let's get started. Open your terminal and go with the command burp and hit enter. If you want, you can close the terminal, or if you want, you can minimize it. It's again your call. Just go with next. If you want to create a project, you can just go with create a project. So I'm gonna use the name new project and I'm gonna save the file on, let's say, desktop. Just go with save and go with next. If you have any configuration file like which websites, which subdomains are allowed in the scope, which subdomains are not in the scope, for this kind of config files, JSON files, you can load the files from here. Otherwise, you can leave it default as use burp default. So you can configure these values later as well. Now, this is the Burp Suite Professional running in my Kali Linux, and this is the Burp Suite Professional running in my main Mac machine. So I'm gonna show you both for different machines because both the machines have different IP addresses. So let's go with this one first. This is the basic dashboard for your Burp Suite Professional. Now, if you want to configure this with your Firefox, then you have to go with the Firefox first and just go with the IP address 127.0.0.1:8080. This is the IP address and the port number used by the Burp Suite Professional for their web dashboard. So from this web dashboard from the Burp Suite Professional, you can download the CS certificate. This CS certificate is only necessary when you want to intercept the HTTPS traffic. For example, let's say if you want to intercept the request and response from Facebook, Google, Instagram kind of websites, or let's say any website that use HTTPS, then you will need this CS certificate. So let's just download the certificate and we need to import this in our Firefox browser. If you are using some other browsers, like if you are using Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Chromium, or some other kind of browsers, then you have to install this certificate on your main machine. That's a different thing, but for the Firefox, you can install it in the browser itself because Firefox carry its own certificate store. So what you can do is just go with cert, go with view certificates, go with import, and just go with certificates that we have just downloaded, CSCert. Just go with open. Now you have to trust the certificate. Just check these two boxes and go with OK. Now again go with OK, and now you can intercept the traffic for your Burp Suite Professional for all the websites in your Burp Suite Professional. But again, one more thing, we have to configure the proxy here. For proxy part, again we have two options. First one is you can go with settings and configure proxy manually each and every time. Second one is go with the extension with the name Foxy Proxy. So just search here for Foxy Proxy and hit enter. Let's connect with the internet first and refresh the web page. Now go with the standard and let's install the extension. Now if you want to run this extension in the private windows, you can just check this box, otherwise just leave it unchecked and go with OK. Now scroll to the bottom, go with the back and add your profiles for proxy. Just go with add. I'll name the profile as Kali Linux. I'll keep the color as green. I'll go with this one as HTTP. Go with the IP address as localhost 127.0.0.1. Go with port number as 8080. If you have implemented some username password authentication, just go with these passwords. Otherwise, leave it default as empty and go with save. Now, you can close all the unnecessary windows. Let's open a new tab and close this one as well. And now you can enable the proxy with this extension here. Just select the profile. And if you just go with the websites, like I'll go with google.com, or if I simply add HTTPS in the front and hit enter, we will get the requests here in the Burp Suite. you can see we got the request and we got the responses here. If you want to intercept in the real time, you have to enable this interception from here. Now, if you are using Burp Suite on a different virtual machine or any main machine like this one, and you want to intercept traffic from another virtual machine or main machine, then you just have to enable another proxy listener. Just go with the options tab under proxy, go with add, and go with any port number. Let's say I'll go with 12345 as my port number. I'll keep the IP address as my main machine IP address as 192.168.0.134. This is the IP address assigned to my Mac. So just select the IP address and go with OK. Now go back to the browser and let's create one more profile in the Foxy proxy. So just go with options again. Let's create one more profile. This time I'll go with, let's say, Mac, and I'll go with IP address as 192.168.0.134. Go with port number as 1234 and 5. Go with save and just change the profile. If you want, you can go with the different color here. Let's just go with some blue or purple as well. It's again your call what color you want to use. And now let's change the profile. All good. Now, if you open a website, because we have not installed the certificate for this Burp Suite Professional in our Firefox running in the Kali Linux, but we cannot open the HTTPS website. For example, if I go with HTTPS and google.com, this will give us an error for secure connection because certificate is not installed, right? But if you go with some websites like http://test.php or any website that opens with HTTP, not with HTTPS, it will work. So just go with the history tab and you can see the request and response here easily. So you can configure this Burp Suite with different machines in the same machines as well. Now after this proxy, your HTTP request and response history will be available in this HTTP history tab. If your website is using WebSockets, you will get the history here, right? Same things were available in all the Burp Suite Professional versions. Other than this proxy tab, let's go with the dashboard and let's start with the introduction to our Burp Suite Professional. So on the dashboard tab, we got our new scan profile here. So just go with new scan. Here you can go with crawling and auditing. In back few days, you can go with some spiders available in Burp Suite Professional. Spider is just a crawler that will scroll all the different web pages, all the different directories on the website and show you the results. Nowadays, that spider is available with the name crawling here, or you can say crawl here, right? So if you just want to use spider or if you just want to use crawler, just go with this crawl profile. Or if you want to go with the automated scan, that will work with the spidering part and that will also work with the web vulnerability scanning part, then you can go with crawl and audits here. So you can specify your targets here, like I'll go with google.com, I'll go with facebook.com, I'll go with instagram.com, I'll go with twitter.com. Any number of targets you can specify here. Then you can go with scan configs. You can add your configs here if you want to add some library for the crawling part, like what is the depth of the crawling you want to create. You can create your profiles as well. Otherwise, you can select from library as well, right? Let's say you want to crawl for like 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, fastest, like any kind of profile you can pick from here. If you want, you can create your own profiles as well, right? Let's add a auditing profile as well as thorough, and then you can go with application login. Now if you want to add some login credential for your website login, let's say for Google you want to use your email address as abc@gmail.com and password is 12345, then you can add these values here, like this is my Gmail credentials. I'll go with abc@gmail.com and password is something like this, right? Just go with OK. Then we got the resource pool. Resource pool is mainly used to specify the concurrent request. How many concurrent requests, how many threads you want to use. Like you want to send a single request in a second, you want to send 5,000 requests in a second. For that kind of things, resource pool is used. By default, it will send 10 requests in a second. But if you want, you can change it. We have options available in the here. Wow. After that, go with OK, and this will create a task for you. One more thing, in the latest version of Burp Suite Professional, the layout of this scan configuration is bit different. But if you want, you can go with your custom configurations here. But if you want, you can just go with this easy layout as well. Like you want a deep scan, you want a fast scan, balanced scan, or lightweight scan. It's again your call. What kind of profile you want to select. Now, other than that, we got the target tab here. Target tab is mainly used to specify the websites that you want to scan mainly. Like let's say we are using twitter.com, right? For Twitter, like let's say your Twitter is using different plugins from different websites for tracking part, for different other things. Let's say like Twitter is using Facebook, you're using Google Fonts or some other kind of plugins, or let's say AdWords as well, right? So you will get requests from different websites. Like we got Instagram, we got Google Play, we got Twitter, we got Gstatic, we got Facebook, we got ad service here. But we want to intercept the traffic only and only for your twitter.com, right? Not even for HTTPS, we want the traffic for HTTP, right? For that, what you can do is just go with right click and you can add this website into the scope, right? And if you want to ignore the traffic for all other websites, you can go with yes, otherwise just go with as no, right? We got the request, we got the target. In our scope part, if you want to exclude something from the target, you can just add it here from for exclusion part. All the vulnerabilities, all the definitions, their remediation, their description, their references, you can just go with these things here in the issue definition tab. Then again we got the proxy, and now let's go with the options tab here. So you are familiar with the proxy listener, you can just start some other listeners as well. Then we got few basic conditions that you can apply on your requests. Let's say we have specified the target and I want to capture traffic only for this particular target. So what I'll do is I'll go with the proxy tab and I'll apply the condition that only show me the request and responses for websites available in the target scope, right? By default, Burp Suite will not show you the responses, but if you do want to show the responses, just go with this checkbox, right? This will start showing you the responses as well for each and every request. But again, you can just filter out these things as per these conditions, right? You can create your own conditions as well. It's again your call. Then we got some options for WebSocket. If you don't want to see the WebSockets, you can just enable, disable these values. If you want, you can go with some basic response manipulation or response modification kind of options from here. Then we got some match and replace values here. Let's say you want to change your user agent, you want to change some status codes. This kind of things can be done from this match and replace options. If you want to go with your custom TLS handshake part, or let's say if you want to go with some like lower version of TLS certificate that you want to use, for that you can go with this TLS pass through here. And for some advanced, or you can say miscellaneous options, you can just go with here. Now, other than this proxy, we got the intruder tab here. Intruder tab is mainly used to transfer a request, to send a request multiple times to the server, like with any modification or without any modification. For example, let's say I want to send a request like 1,000 times to the server. Like let's say I want to send this specific request 1,000 times to my server, and I want to analyze the response of each and every request. So what I'll do is I'll simply go with right click and I'll send it to intruder. Now I'll go with the intruder and I will clear all the positions where you can add your word list or any kind of payloads that you want to add, right? So I'll clear all the position and I'll select any random value, or you can just go with this Q for the quality part and just add it as my position that I want to change value of this specific field or parameter, let's say, right? If you are using a single position and if you want to use a single dictionary, then you can go with the sniper, right? But if you are using your two different dictionaries for two different positions, then you have to go with your battering ram, right? So let's say I'm using one more position here. So I'll go with this one. Let's go with add. Now let's go with payloads, and you can specify your word list here. Let's load the word list from here. I want to, let's say, use your passwords, or if you want, you can go with some common values like numbers I want to use, because I want to send the same request 1,000 times. So I'll start with 1, I'll go up to 1,000, and I'll increment the value one by one. So let's start the attack. This will send the same request, exactly same request, only this quality value will be changed, right? So you can just use your intruder to loop the request multiple times, right? Even for brute forcing, you can use your intruder there. Now, other than that, if you are using two different word lists for two different positions, you can go with your pitchfork or cluster bomb. The only difference is in pitchfork, both the word list will be incremented at the same time. For example, we have two positions. Now let's go with the payloads, and let's go with the for my first word list. I'm using counting from 1 to 1000, and let's say for my second word list, I'm again going with numbers, and let's say I want to start with 1001, and I'll go up to 2000, right? Or let's say I'll go with up to 1500. Now I'll increment with 1. Now you can say only 500 requests will be sent because both the word list will be incremented at the same time. So in the second word list, we only have 500 characters. So Burp Suite will only and only send 500 requests, not a single request more than 500, right? So you can just go with start attack, and you can see both the word list, both the positions were updated at the same time, right? Other than that, if you want to go with some kind of permutation combinations, then you can go with the cluster bomb here, right? In this case, let's say it will start with the first word available in the second word list and try all the words in the first word list one by one. This will go with permutation combinations, you can say. And in this case, this will try 500,000 attempts, right? So let's start this attack, and you can see the second payload value is same 1001, and only the first payload is getting changed, right? After using all the payloads from first word list, then payload from second word list will be incremented only then, right? So again, this will take some time again because brute forcing is always a time consuming thing, right? Other than that part, if you want to modify request each and every time by yourself, for example, I want to change the method from get to, let's say, post, and I want to analyze the response, right? You have changed the value by yourself. You have made your custom modifications. In that case, you can go with your repeater when you will modify the request each and every time by yourself, right? And analyze the response. Now, for example, let's say I want to compare two different responses. For that, what you can do is you can go with comparer tab available here. So now I'm going with post response, and I'll go with get response as well. So for get, we got this 400. We can clearly see the difference, but again, for the comparison part, you can just go with this one here. Or let's pick the response from this actual request, and I want to compare them word by word, right? So just go with comparer tab, send two or more requests or responses in the comparer, and you can compare them one by one. So you can see these values were modified in the second response. These three lines were added in the second response, and this first line is removed from the second response, right? So you can go with these color codings as well to analyze the request and response comparison. Now, other than this repeater, you can go with sequencer. Sequencer is mainly used when you are trying to analyze the randomness, like when you are working with complexity of some tokens or some session IDs, right? That session ID is random, token is random or not. For this kind of thing, we use your sequencer to test the complexity or the randomness. Now, after the sequencer, we got the decoder tab. Decoder tab is generally used to perform encoding, decoding, and your hash operations over the data. For example, let's say I'm using my name, and let's say I have entered my name in the password field, right? So what websites will generally do, they will encode the value and then transfer to the server, right? So let's say I'm going with encoding as base 64. Now suppose this value is being transferred to the server, let's say transmitted to the server in the request, right? You got this value in the request and now you want to extract the actual plain text. For that, what you can do is just go with decode base 64 and you will get your actual plain text, right? So you can use your decoder for encoding, decoding, as well as for hash creation as well. Let's say I want to create a hash for any algorithm that you can pick. So we have multiple algorithms available here. It's always your call what algo you want to use. So you can pick any particular algo. Multiple algos were available here. Let's say I want to go with MD5, right? This will create a hash in hex format. Then again, you have to encode it into base 64 to get the actual value, right? So this is the basic use of your decoder tab. So you're already familiar with the comparer. Then we got the logger tab. Logger tab is mainly used to check the history of all other different tabs. For example, I want to check traffic generated by this scanner here, all the requests sent by the scanner or this automated task, or you can say we want to analyze all the response received by this particular automated task, right? Or you want to go with all the requests and responses for the intruder, for the repeater, for the sequencer, then all these values, all the history will be available in your logger window here. Other than this logger window, you can go with your extenders. Extender tab is mainly used to manage your extension that you have installed or that you will install in your Burp Suite Professional. For example, if I install this .NET Beautifier, just click on this install and it's installed. If you want to enable, disable this extension, you can just check or uncheck the box. It's that easy. If you want to uninstall this extension, or let's say if you want to remove this extension, just go with remove. Done. It's that easy. If you want to create your extensions, then you can go with this API creator part here, right? If you want to create your extension, only then. If you want to configure your environment variables, that will be necessary for some extension, not for each and every extension, but for few of them. For example, for this ad hoc payload processor, we need the JRuby here, right? So what you can do is just download the jar file for JRuby and you can specify the path here in the JRuby files, right? So for this kind of thing, you can go with these options available here for the environment variable, for the path kind of things. Then we got few basic options from the project part. One interesting thing in the project is your logging here. If you don't want to miss your request that you have forwarded to intruder, to repeater, or to your sequencer, right? Then you should check these boxes and save all the traffic in your Burp Suite project, right? Otherwise, Burp Suite will only capture, or you can say only record request and response available in your proxy history and in your repeater tab, right? Intruder tab, sequencer tab, these will not be maintained for the history, right? So you can go with these options as well. Then we got user options here. For user option, one more interesting thing is here. We got the upstream proxy server. These upstream proxy servers are mainly used when you want to add one additional layer of proxy with your Burp Suite. For example, let's say this particular Firefox browser will send request to my Burp Suite Professional. Then from Burp Suite Professional, I want to send this request to my custom, or let's say attacker server, right? Then that attacker server will send the request to the original server. So if you want to add one more layer of proxy on top of Burp Suite Professional, then you can go with this upstream proxy server here, right? We have few other options as well that you can go with, right? So this is the basic Burp Suite Professional that you can go with. So have a good day and stay connected with Pentesting Club.